Hello there, everybody, and happy Friday. Welcome to the Ohio State Esports broadcast. My name is Kenneth. I am joined by Mason, and we're going to watch some League of Legends tonight. I have not had the pleasure of watching League of Legends in quite a long time, Mason, so you're going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. How do you feel about that?
I'm pretty excited about the game today. Last week, we're coming off of a bit of a rough loss. It was against one of the higher-seeded people of the group. But this week, we are a little bit favored with the current standings. We're 2-1, and the other team is 1-2. But it looks good. We have a couple substitutions going on. One of our support player, Flexitine, is not here at the moment, so we are having Schoonmaster sub in for mid lane, and the Hunt for Value is switching to support. So that should be very interesting. It should change up draft from the normal things that we see during the Victoris series. So it should be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely will be interesting to kind of look out for. And, that's one of the things. This team has actually been doing pretty well given the amount of roster flexibility we've had in recent weeks. Just recently, a few weeks ago, they just kind of reshifted the rosters around, had a few role swaps here and there, and so they're just kind of settling into those. And now another redstone into plans for the match tonight, so it should be a good one. We're heading up against Top Shelf. What can you tell me about this team coming into this week?
Yeah, so Top Shelf, they're looking very competitive. They have a Masters mid lane player. I know a couple of their players. They play some unique champions, a little bit stand out. Not exactly the most standard meta, but also we've got a lot of shakeups in the sort of patch that just released.
Oh, boy.
Renata Glass coming out. Zeri, sort of, her power being shifted away from the Trinity Force build into more of a crit thing. The support top lane meta with the smites, that being nerfed. Alterations of that strategy have sort of evolved. There's things like Twitch top lane with Ignite running around, just solo killing mid laners, just being complete gremlins and ruining jungle pathing. So it'll be interesting to see if these teams sort of chose to learn these strategies and to implement them tonight.
So here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
How are you supposed to know what's going on in this video game?
Yeah.
When you're telling me that there are things like Smite being taken by top laners.
Right. Yeah.
With non-top lane champions. Like, this game's already difficult enough for me to understand, Mason. What's going on?
Well, every 2 weeks, we decide that League of Legends is not interesting enough, so we switch it up a bit, all right? We make sure something else is going on all the time, all right? So the highest win rate top laners right now are Janna, Zillion, and Twitch. That's the patch that we're playing on. So it's very interesting. So more supportive transferring around with smites. Basically, right now, the meta is pick a champion that can make the enemy jungle have a bad time in the early game. You just sprint in there, you smite his camp away so he's behind in levels, behind in XP, and then you just stay there. You say, I don't need gold. Your top laner can take a couple plates, but I don't care because your jungler is not going to be connected to the match for the rest of it.
Oh, dear. What is the world that we live in now, where we can't even expect normal things like League of Legends champions to remain constant? I suppose we've never really been able to rely on that, ever-evolving game after, 10 years, 11 years, however long it's been now?
It's getting up there. It's especially, I think, this is the 10th year of LCS, was a sort of big branding thing that they did. So it's been a lot of League of Legends, a lot of shakeups, a lot of metas that they've tried to get rid of, right? So they've tried to stop this support itemization, top lane, no CSing strategies. What they did is they decided that if you have 2 support income items on your team, they reduce the effectiveness of those items. But that really doesn't seem to have affected it very much. Having those 2 items also disables bounties, objective bounties, which were a new patch to this season. So if you haven't been watching a lot recently, if you're significantly far enough behind in gold, killing a tower or a dragon or other objectives, Herald and Dash, they give you bonus gold on top of the sort of normal values that these things would give. So those also get disabled if you're running double support items, but teams seem to have not cared about these sort of soft nerfs to the strategy, so I think Riot is going to have to take a more hands-on approach to sort of keep top laners in the top lane. Maybe put another Scuttle Crab up there, some more objectives, to keep people in the place that they're supposed to be. But we're going to have to see if these teams are interested in that, right? Because this strategy is so much different than what we're used to, so sort of warping the way the game is played. Sometimes teams are like, well, Riot's just going to get rid of that next week because we get patched every 2 weeks. Sometimes it's not worth investing heavily into these strategies, because if you put a lot of practice time in on something and then it's gone, then you've just wasted all that time.
Right. Absolutely. Looks like we do have a little bit of an update on the match. At the moment, it appears as though Ohio State will be losing their first ban in the series, just due to a few of the substitutions, weird things happening going on right now. It does appear now as though Biogamer might come in. It's a little bit of a mess here tonight. Hey, it's a Friday night. It's the end of the week. But so we're still waiting on this, taking care of business here. Yeah, should be interesting anyway to see exactly what is going on. But, hopefully we'll be hopping into draft here shortly. I imagine the teams are currently in the process of pro-drafting their champions, and so hopefully they'll be taking care of business here soon. Okay, never mind. My producer's shaking their head in the back. So I think we're going to go to a break and just see exactly what's going on. So we apologize for the delay, but we'll be back here in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll resume with VTS League play in just a moment. Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to the VTS Week 5 play here for Ohio State, where we've had a few roster substitutions. We took a little bit of a break to figure all that out, but we are now into game draft. My name is Kenneth. I'm joined by Mason here, and let's hop right into it. So one of the first things that you'll notice is we should probably mention this before we hop too far into draft. Renata Glask is disabled for this week, but you'll see Ohio State take her as the first ban in all of the games in this series because we have lost that privilege due to the amount of roster changes that we've had here, or you'll just see the no champion ban. So just keep that in mind. There is nothing wrong going on there that is intentional. But Mason, we're already into draft, so what do we expect to see here? Especially, can you even make sense of what's going on with all of the roster swaps so far?
Yeah, so something that I personally want to touch on a lot is we see the hunt for value. Originally an AD carry player, last time I was on the broadcast, hopping into mid lane for the first time. Today he's going to be playing support for us. So that's going to be a great – it was a blast to see him play last week because we talked about sort of what the fundamentals are for mid lane, what's important at that role, and like how do you transition to that? How do you go from playing an AD carry, sort of scaling, positioning-based thing, to stuff like engage mages, like with the Vex and Annie, which is something we discussed pretty heavily last time. Now moving to the support, we can kind of do the same thing. So what does a basic support look like? What do we think he's going to play? Either something simple like an engaged champion, or maybe a Lulu, an enchanter, sort of pump up an AD carry, something he's probably very familiar with as an AD carry player.
Yeah.
Hopping into this draft, we see the Gwyn pick, very powerful. The top laner, just these things make a lot of sense. We did hop out of a pro draft, so we're seeing champions picked at the roles and not necessarily in order. Looks very standard across the board until we see that Vigar lock in. This infinitely scaling mage. I don't know if Skoon has put a lot of games into that, but he's a very confident player. He's probably one of the stars of this roster. I think he's in Masters tier right now. Yeah. Has hit Challengers, been up there. Used to be a Galio one trick. So these sort of more utility-based mages in the mid lane, I see going very well for him. I think he definitely could be confident on.
That's one of the things, too. Vigar's a champion that has been around in the game for a while and has been meta at some point or another, right? And so these players that have been playing for a few years, especially when role swaps are going to happen, probably picking a little bit of comfort here. And so we'll see that come out of Shun here as well. One of the things I want to talk about here as well, Halal Horse was our jungler last semester or last year, I believe, for the Ohio State squad. So he's subbing back in for this. And in this time around, I think like one of his mains is Hecarim. So it's interesting to see if that was picked away by Renano Baby on the other side here in this draft.
Yeah, if I had to guess, that was probably an early game prioritized pick. Actually, across all of our teams at Ohio State, we've got very high presence. I know Biogamer used to be a Hecarim one trick as well, so it's a very powerful pick in the meta, pretty consistent, good engage, decent front line, just a powerful tool for early game jungle pressure. We see the Aphelios Thresh combination locked in the bot lane, so Thresh, one of the highest skill cap champions in the game. People put hundreds of games on this champion yearly and still don't master it. So to see a support who is new to the role, being emergency subbed essentially to it, lock it in is very confident. And I love to see that, and knowing Ryan personally, this is a power move. He's trying to assert his dominance. The Thresh Aphelios is a very powerful lane. It gives the immobile Aphelios the tools to sort of escape certain situations where a dashless character like Aphelios wouldn't be able to. So probably going to lean to the Guardian, the more defensive version of Thresh, not the playmaking Aftershock build.
Right.
Or the Glacial Augment. He might go for Glacial Augment because that rune is very powerful right now, but very interesting to see the Thresh. Very,
Certainly.
very exciting.
The Aphelios Thresh lane is something that we are quite used to seeing, right, overall, in terms of a lot of play. But in this context where you've got a player that's coming in, going to be interesting to see exactly if he can pull it off. On the flip side of that, of course, you see the Leona locked in there, trying to pin this Aphelios especially down. But of course, that Thresh with the ability for that Lantern is going to be very critical there. So of course, draft is now locked in, and we'll be loading onto the Rift in just a little bit. We'll take a break for competitive integrity before we come right back and load onto the Rift. Don't go anywhere, folks. The match is coming shortly. Hello there, everybody, and welcome back. In just a moment, we'll be hopping onto the Rift for the Victoris Triumph Series Week 5 play, Ohio State versus Top Shelf. Kenneth, Mason, we've been with you, trying to make sense of all of the roster swaps and everything that's going on right now, trying to make sense of League of Legends' game as a whole. I mean, it's frustrating to make sense of for people like me that don't literally devote their lives to the game, and that's why so frequently you see people devote their lives to the game. But nonetheless, we're going to be getting right on into this. As you see, Ohio State on the red side, Top Shelf on the blue side, and might be setting up for a few level 1 shenanigans here as they're going to catch out Blizzard. Have to see if they can take care of this. Never mind going in. The death sentence is not quite going to connect this time around. And so the interesting thing here, though, is that Top Shelf knows Ohio State is walking up the river right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty big information disadvantage. It's sort of the high-risk, high-reward play, right? Not only have they sort of shown themselves, all 5 members on the bot side of the map, so they lose out on information, right? There's wards in the enemy red side, or in your red side jungle now that's going to be hard to sweep out. It looks like they have recalled 4 sweepers. They might be able to get that. But also, it puts you behind because now you've got E as Vigar for the early game trades, right? That's not exactly what you want to be doing. You want to be stacking the Q early and often. A little bit of a fight, but I don't believe it'll turn into much. It's going to be hard to make plays happen here. Just to touch on some of the build choices that we see, Grasp on that Thresh. So I was leaning towards the Guardian, maybe the Glacial Augment, but Grasp Thresh is probably just wrong, but let's give it the benefit
Okay,
let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that this is the early game harass tool, right? This can let you stack up a lot of bonus HP, a lot of sort of harass power onto this melee support of the Leona. So if Hunt for Value is playing aggressively with his Flay passive, getting those auto attacks in, staying in combat, he might be able to get some extra combat stats out of it.
Yeah, and trying to get, yourselves ahead there, trying to make sure that this Aphelios for Ohio State can output the damage that we know the Aphelios is capable of is going to be critical, especially when we're talking about the compositions here, because what we're noticing, what we were talking a little bit in the break, was that a lot of the top shelf champions have a lot of potential for crowd control, have a lot of potential to go all in immediately, and be very fast in terms of being able to pull that trigger. And so it's going to be all about trying to blow these champions up before they can reach them.
Yeah, the dive coming out of the Vex, out of the Hecarim, out of the Leona, it's going to be basically, can Aphelios survive the minefield that is Top Shelf's composition here? He has Thresh to help him do it. He could try, but it's definitely challenging. And that's why we see both of the AD carries taking that cleanse, because just being able to survive that initial dive from both of these team comps, really, the Gragas and the Xin Zhao being just as threatening, is the most important thing for them to be able to get a reasonable amount of damage out.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll have to see how this plays out. It's probably going to be extremely important when we start looking a little bit more towards the mid-game, start seeing a few tower dives potentially come out. But, as these champions are just now trying to level up, hit that level 6, probably going to be pretty quiet here overall. We are keeping an eye on the top lane, where some of these champions are getting a little bit low in health, somewhat surprisingly. Down to this side, Mookub going to sit back underneath the tower for now, try to make sure that things don't get out of hand up there. But, a potential visit for either one of those junglers could spice things up the top side.
Yeah, we see both of them sort of playing around in this bot side river, probably contesting this grab. Actually, a play coming mid lane.
Ronda Baby trying to take care of Shun here. Shun is going to burn the flash, though, to get away. And so that will be one resource not at disposal here for the next 5 minutes. And that flash is, something that we don't talk about often just because it's so much of a given normally in League of Legends. But that instant teleport ability just a little bit further can be the difference in a lot of cases.
Yeah, especially when you're on that Vygar pick, your only defensive tool is putting up the baby cage, trying to keep people off of you. But now with the CC coming out of the Vex and the Hecarim has a lot of threat on this regank for this poor little mage in the mid lane. So definitely under a little bit of duress there. Has the extra vision from the crab on the bottom side, but Hecarim's looking for an angle. But I don't know if he's going to take this or maybe just go in for the Wraith camp, steal away a little bit. Bot lane trades going in favor of OSU for now. Leona really just kind of wants to get this level 3 spike that she has achieved before she can go in for an all-in play. But being this committal into a foursome available Ohio State bottom lane is pretty risky without some jungle assistance, so probably going to wait before they try to make anything big happen down there. Again, both of these team comps are very happy to scale to about 1 or 2 items before the fights start breaking around dragons. A good hook.
Death Sentence going to land here, but Gizzard's just going to pop up that shield and go away. Hunt for value. Now perhaps a little bit low. Flay comes out, trying to get away, but is not going to be able to get out in time. First Blood's going to go over to Leona here, but Blue is going to be able to pick up one on a Doofoof. And now looking for another one here onto Gizzard. That Leona doesn't have a lot of damage. Going to find the Gravitum, but not going to be able to find the connection on the kill. And it's a 1-for-1 on the bot side.
Yeah, and there you see sort of the punishment, but Sinzhao's around might be able to make this dive happen if they get the wave underneath the turret. Leona's very tanky.
Oh.
Our Aftershock is available, so this dive might get turned if they go for it, but has to blow the flash.
Is going to blow the flash here, but that is going to get taken care of here. And hey, just as we were saying, it's going to be important to try to get ahead here in these lanes earlier on. And Blue feeling a little bit more confident here with 1 kill, of course. Halal Force probably going to be looking to try to make a few more plays, especially once level 6 is hit, with being 1 kill up on this Xin Zhao as well. And now Blue has to be a little bit careful now that the Xayah is back in the lane, being that partner down there. But they'll dance for a little bit, and Blue will back away.
Yeah, important thing to note, the kills sort of being put in the right place for Ohio State and not exactly where you want it for Top Shelf. Leona sort of having to pick up the trade kill, whereas Blue picked up the kill for Ohio State, right? So a lot more gold going into that sort of scaling 80 carry, whereas Leona doesn't really get much out of gold.
Definitely well done in order to make sure that that happens here. Looks like Ultimate going to be burned by Egg Rolls in the top line. Not going to be able to come up with much of anything. But now Mukub rather low on health and mana. Going to have to reset here sometime soon. And all the meanwhile, we see in the bot side, Top Shelf is trying to take the initiative here by taking this dragon away early. And it looks like they might just be able to do that. Shu now mid lane. Going to force the flash out of Rabadon. So that player is going to be low on health. Not able to join anything that happens to the jungle. But just in time, Doofoof and Gizzard are actually going to take the Drake alone without the jungler in the area.
Yeah, so Aphelios stayed for a pretty long time in the bottom lane, getting a little bit of extra plate gold, a couple extra waves pushed into the turret. But because his reset was desynced from his support, because it was much later than Top Shelves, they were able to sneak in with that early game pressure and grab the dragon without Ohio State being able to contest it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And now another death sentence is going to connect here, but not quite the right guns if you're trying to put out a bunch of damage very quickly here on this Aphelios. That's one of the interesting things about this champion. For those of you that might be a little bit unfamiliar, haven't seen the game in a while, Aphelios has these 5 guns that kind of go around in a rotation. And so right now you see the Chakrams and the long-range variant here, trying to find a little bit on the Doofoof, now that has burned up. But now you start to see Ronda Baby come in with the Onslaught of Shadows, trying to take Blue away. But Blue is going to be able to flash back and stay alive for now. And unfortunately, the gank is not going to pay off here for Top Shelf.
Yeah, a really good charge coming out from that Hecarim cancels the Thresh's Lantern. So that was the combination we were sort of talking about. The reason you take the Thresh with the Aphelios is so this champ can get the extra dash, get a little extra safety, able to push up a little more aggressively. But since that sort of escape route was taken away from him, he had to blow his own splash there. So good gank, good pressure coming out of this Dirk in the bottom lane. So bot lane, although they're a little behind, they're able to get some things done for Top Shelf.
Absolutely. Now Root coming in on a Doofoof. There's going to be the Feathers coming out here as well. Moonlight Vigil, though, is going to connect, and a Doofoof is going to fall. Meanwhile, on the top side, Egg Rolls is going to fall as Halal Horse has made an appearance. And now, here we go again. Onslaught of Shadows. Renata Baby trying to come on in here, but is just going to get taken down by Halal Horse. It's a double kill for that Xin Zhao on the top side of the map. But Ohio State is rolling on both sides.
Yeah, they win those fights on both sides. A little bit of an overextend. The aggressive Xayah ult coming out, it just isn't able to connect, and then they get turned around on. There's nothing they can really do against that Moonlight Sigil. The green gun that we were talking about gives a little bit extra burst on the end of that ultimate, and it was enough to take down the Xayah, who overextended a little bit. Which is going to be pretty bad for them, right? Ohio State has the scaling advantage here. The Vigar going infinitely into Felios just being an absolute monster in the late game. And the Zaya sort of committing to the early game focus build, but a fight going on in the top lane.
Fight going in the top lane to try to get egg rolls ahead. Mukub is low on mana and is a little bit far ahead. Doesn't have the casket at the ready here either to knock these players back. And Renan Baby is going to be able to pick this one up. It looks like to me they're trying to get the Gwen ahead, though. And up there rolling on the top side of the map, that's where they've kind of identified a potential source of advantage here in the laning phase, especially given that Mukub is probably going to be playing weak side on this Gragas. Nonetheless, though, a Doofoof going to get caught out here, and that's Halal Horse picking up yet another one. That's 4-0 on this Xin Zhao, now with that 400 gold bounty.
Yeah, this Xin Zhao is an early game monster, even more scary with these kills stacking up into top shelf here. Going for a bit of a play onto Vigar, but not enough members to finish this. Leona now a little bit overextended, that 4-0 Vigar.
Well, Horse is going to try to come on in here, try to get a little bit more done on this Leona, but Gizzard is just going to walk away, and this is where we start to see the tankiness of that Leona come into play. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to catch that champion just randomly roaming around, and so we'll have to see if that's a possibility here or how exactly that's going to continue to play out over the course of this match. But one of the things I want to go back to is kind of this top lane matchup, right? The Gwen is a champion that we've seen in a lot of pro play matches as being more of a hyper carry in some sources and in some fashions. And I think that's where Top Shelf is trying to pivot right now, where they're trying to find that advantage right now from their perspective. And they're starting to get there, but this Gwen is a little bit behind in CS and hasn't really been able to find any of those advantages so far. And so we'll have to see how exactly that continues to play out here. You know, just given the execution that we're seeing come out here so far. And again, we're seeing this skirmish up here on the top side, but and now you see Rada Baby here again on the Hecarim coming in. There's the Onslaught of Shadows. Now the knockback for Mukub, as Mukub's going to continue to get shredded down on health. But actually, Renan Baby is going to pick up another kill here. So maybe I was wrong with Gwen. They're just trying to get the Hecarim ahead.
Yeah, that just looks like the heat of the moment. People are just trying to get this Gragas down before he gets his dash back available to him because he used it on a trade before that fight happened. Another fight coming to the bot lane, but a good play. TH4 definitely seeing that trick done once or twice, so able to cancel the charge in from the Leona. And to your point in the top lane, this Gwen, the Gwen pick can be an absolute monster, but it takes a few items to get online.
Right.
You want to get the sort of sustain item, your sustain mythic, I'm forgetting the item right now, but also your Nashor's Tooth. Once you get those two items, there really isn't a champ in the game that can stop you from just destroying these turrets. And honestly, with the Ghost, she's going to be able to team fight very well too. So they're able to bully Mukub a little bit more, get this Herald up in the top side. She might be able to take this game over.
It is not a fun match right now if you are Mukub. I mean, the opposing junglers basically set up shop, try to take care of business here. But meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, looks like Halal Horse trying to go in, trying to find and catch a few of these members off guard in their own jungle. It's Top Shelf. Gizzard right now trying to run away. Moonlight Vigil, though, is going to connect. And once again, Blue picks up yet another kill. And meanwhile, top side of the map, starting to see Mukub play a little bit more cautiously, play between these turrets, and now has to take care of this Rift Herald before much longer. But it's 4 members right now on the bottom of the map for the Ohio State squad. Death Sentence couldn't quite see if that connects, but it doesn't look like much more is going to come of it. Meanwhile, Eggsroll's taken down rather low, going to be forced to burn this ultimate, trying to take care of just a bit more, but it's going to escape with a sliver of her health. That Gwen is going to go ahead and back, and we haven't seen anything come up yet, and now Mukub, forced to burn the flash. There's the shadows again. This Hecarim, no, very close. Very close on the trade. But look, what can you do? You've been stuck there in a 2v1 for like the better part of the past 3 minutes.
This is generally what Mukub's job is, right? He sort of soaks up all this pressure, wave clears as best he can, picks up as much CS, actually still in the lead in CS, even though he's probably down a significant amount of gold because of that plate and that first tower bonus. But this is Ohio State's game plan. Even with the roster substitutes, even with a few pieces moving around, they still play around bot lane. They roam Skoon down, they have Blue, they put all the gold into him, and they take down these towers. So yeah, I mean, this Aphelios is going to be gross. It's going to deal ridiculous amounts of damage, and if they can't get on him, if they can't lock this guy down, there's not really a way for them to win the team fights.
So this is the part where we say Mr. 200 years, right?
That is, yeah. That's the line.
This is
That's
the part.
the line.
That's the line. Maybe we'll see if we'll be able to see that come out in performance here. But it's worth noting here overall, given the advantages that we've kind of seen go back and forth, actually not as much of a gold advantage as we might be expecting coming out for Ohio State, only at about 2K right now. How do you expect that's going to translate into, these actual fights we start considering? We're talking a little bit about where that gold is distributed for these players.
Yeah, so just like we were talking about before, making sure the gold is in the right place. It's not always just about gold advantage, and that's sort of the thing that the top lane turrets, or the top lane supports are preying on right now is gold advantage doesn't mean as much as gold being in the right hands. So all of the gold being in the pockets of this Aphelios, getting a big lead on your AD carry, makes a big difference, even though they're trading gold back into the top side, right? The Gwyn's picking up the first tower. They even got that extra gold on top of the objective that they're trading. But it still might not matter because these team fights are going to be much more difficult with this gold allocation, essentially, from top shelf.
Here we go. Mookub trying to get away. But again,
a tanky Gragas.
Ooh, Solar Flare going to come out here. Gizzard is going to be able to land on a Mookub, but there's not going to be much follow-up there. And now with Halal Force in the area, all of a sudden, Top Shelf feeling a little bit less confident. And now we might see if they can start going forward. There's the cage come out here. Start to see a little bit more damage. Fun Baby is going to be the first target, but is going to be able to back away. Now, there it is. There's the Shadow Surge coming in for the Vex. It's not quite going to be enough to take anyone down for the moment, but Mookub might be able to go away here. Now going to go the rest of the way from the other side of the team, and Rabadon is going to be able to secure that kill on this Vex. Meanwhile, looks like the rest of the Ohio State squad is going to be able to get away, at least for now. So Run Baby is going to try to bully away Hunt for Value. Going to bring Shun back on over to the other side of the map, but it's not going to be enough for now. And Top Shelf all of a sudden starting to find ways to make this a little bit more even.
Yeah, I mean, they get a good angle there, right? Ohio State gets a little bit greedy after they make the escape. They sort of step back in for that fight, 4 versus 5, but there's a good play going on in mid lane.
Trying to put a little bit more of this aggressive play onto Blue, but it's going to backfire. Shun is going to be able to come on up with this cage, able to find that shutdown gold as well, and start to get this Vex a little bit more into the game, especially, or sorry, this Vigar, I should say, especially because we know that this Vigar can scale very heavily, can put out a lot of damage. We've seen that before. Although meanwhile, Adufu might be taken down pretty low and is going to get taken down by Mookub. Although meanwhile, there's a fight going on in the river. Hunt for Value taken down pretty low, but it's going to be Gizzard to fall first between the two supports. Shun's going to be able to pick that one up and get a double kill. This Vigar is coming online pretty quickly. Robin going to be able to find one the other direction, but now it's going to draw the attention of 4 of the members of the Ohio State squad. It's a triple kill for the Vigar in Shun's hands, and it's going to translate into a Drake in another few seconds.
Yeah, that's just oversteps coming out of Top Shelf. They have people in the wrong place. They're down members and the AD carry overextending for that bot lane turret. It's just not the best tracking, not the best vision control. So they don't know where the Ohio State members are allocated, and they get punished for it.
Absolutely. And so as I said, the Drake will be secured here for Ohio State, which is important as they continue building up towards this Soul. Now, it is Cloud Soul, so, they'll get a little bit of flexibility in terms of those cooldowns, but by the same token, not going to be as impactful as perhaps they're hoping for. They'll be really looking to try to translate some of these things into the Baron, but especially now that we've seen kind of the first larger team fight in this game, it appears as though the Ohio State squad might have the initiative overall in some of these fights.
Absolutely, and Ohio State's happy to go infinite. They don't need to stack this Soul. They don't really care about a Cloud Soul, but if you give them an extra 5 minutes, an extra 10 minutes just to farm up on these hyper carries on the Vigar, on the Aphelios, they're going to be problems, and as you could tell by the scores, they already are. 4-0, 4-0, 3-0 with 8 kill participation as an AD carry. That's absolutely insane. These guys are powerful on their 2-hour spikes, and they honestly don't need to scale that much more. They're ready to fight in maybe another 5 minutes. Like, they have items coming in faster than their opponents.
Absolutely. Although meanwhile, the top lane island has migrated to the bottom side of the map as Agrol's is going to be able to pick up this tower in the bot side, looking for more advantages for Top Shelf here, but cannot quite seem to find the rest of the kill. Moon Club going to be playing very safely. So right now we're seeing a lot of this 4-1 pairing for Ohio State, as they know that those four can really take care of business. And now we start to see the aggression here. Onslaught of Shadows is going to come out, trying to target blue first, but it's not going to be enough to take them down. All the meanwhile, now kids are trying to go back in, but there's no other follow-up here, as Little Horse is going to be the first target, going to be able to be shut down. All the meanwhile, blue is going to be able to pick up one, goes on a rampage, and Shun picks up yet another as well. Now, Hunt for Value, trying to find another one onto a Dufu, take it down pretty low, and there it is. There's the drop. Shun is going to secure that kill. 6-0 now on this Vigar, and the composition is online.
Yeah, they are at their item spikes. These characters are strong, and Rondon maybe thought he had an angle there onto the OSU blue, but his team wasn't exactly in position, wasn't exactly ready to follow up on it. So he goes in, gets summoner spells out of blue, looks like he's threatened, but the Thresh Lantern comes in, the Locket coming out from the Thresh, just enough defensive tools to keep this AD carry alive, and then after that, there is no fight to be had. There is nothing to do if Nephelios is free hitting your entire team. Something I want to mention is, as we were seeing in the bot lane, these trades are getting more and more difficult for Mukub. He does have sustain and he has pretty good wave clear, but once this Gwen gets a couple more items, she did finish that mythic we were talking about. Looks like she might be working towards a Lich Bane instead of the Nashor's Tooth that we were talking about earlier. So a little bit more burst potential and a little less split push pressure. It's going to be a problem for Gragas to match. They might have to send additional resources to sort of stop this side lane threat, and that might create an opportunity for Top Shelf to find those angles for engage, playing around the Baron with a member's advantage.
It's going to be interesting to see when we start seeing 5v5s, what all is going to actually end up happening here. Because that's really what this Gwen's trying to do right now. Egg Rolls is just trying to find those other places to farm up, trying to be the source of damage, trying to be as much as possible for Top Shelf. You can see Renan Baby trying to help that out here as well, but Lol Horse is going to make an appearance here as well. A little bit of a scuffle continues to happen here, and there's the Solar Flare that comes out. Renan Baby is going to be forced to use the Onslaught of Shadows to try to escape, but here comes the Aphelios, able to pick up that one on to that Hecarim. Good cleanse comes out here of Adufu, but it's not going to be enough, as 5 members of the Ohio State squad have now gathered around the Dragon Pit. And they're actually marking straight up towards this Baron Pit already. Yeah,
they've dropped this Herald down. They've got the 5-0 carries. They've got plenty of damage to take down this Baron Nashor, but they might just look for Inhibitor, maybe crack open this turret instead. It's interesting. I think they could do the Nash, but they're deciding that it's too much of a risk. Don't want to get reset on by the Vex.
Honestly,
so
I mean,
this is a safe play.
Early.
It makes sense. It's only 21 minutes, and your comp can go to the moon, so why take the risky play that coin flips it?
Interesting thing here, taking the Inhibitor as well. That's one of the things, is that this Inhibitor could also funnel a little bit more gold into the hands of Top Shelf, especially if you start putting egg rolls in that mid lane, start to take down some of those super minions, and perhaps able to scale up. But certainly, trying to push that in, trying to buy a little bit more time, trying to buy a little bit more space, a little bit more vision before this next fight in the next 17 seconds. What are we looking out for here, Mason?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Inhibitor, there are certain times where taking the Inhibitor and putting that minion wave constantly pushing, the pressure, you can't really use it very well, so taking the Inhibitor is actually a mistake. But Ohio State here, they have a Dragon to play for and a Baron to play for. So they have things they sort of want to condense this team fight into a pile. And it looks like Top Shelf, feeling the pressure, are going to start up this Baron because they feel like they have to.
Little bit scary here. Top Shelf trying to say, you know what, you go take the Drake, that's fine. We'll take the Baron, thank you very much. Let's see if we can try to handshake on this. But at the moment, that handshake not going to be had. 4 members now for Ohio State in the area. All the meanwhile, Lol Horse is still on that Drake, and they're going to try to aggress this. They realize that there's a 5v4 right now, but Blue's going to be dominating here, able to pick up Renan Baby. And there's the Moonlight Vigil, taking down some of these members, but it's not going to be enough. Blue's going to get targeted over there by Egg Rolls, and now another one's going to go down here as well. And unfortunately, the 4v5 does not quite pan out as much as Ohio State would like. But all the meanwhile, they're going to be able to pick up this Cloud Drake, even if a few extra kills go to the pocket of Top Shelf.
Yeah, Top Shelf feeling Top Shelf feeling the pressure right there. The Inhibitor going down, knowing that that minion wave is going to force them to sort of group up. Wants to force the play right now. Wants to make Ohio State make a decision. What they get is a 4 versus 5, which is honestly sort of the best situation they could hope for at this point, right? They made sure Halal Horse, who had a ton of this gold, a ton of sustain, and a kind of sort of front line for Ohio State, they made sure he wasn't in the fight. So they go for this Baron force. They bait OSU there, and they get a decent angle. But OSU Blue's hard to pin down. He has his Gale Force, his Flash, his Cleanse, a Lantern, and a Locket of the Iron Solari. So killing this guy is really hard, so it takes all of the resources from Top Shelf to do it, and then at that point it's sort of hard for them to finish up the rest of the team and finish the objective.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly what we're observing there as well. Okay, side note. I can't believe that it took just now for you to say Top Chef.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be some meme, like, for this team, right? There's got to be some meme potential there. Top Shelf, Top Chef.
Sure.
There's got to be something.
I think
Someone on
Top
Twitch
Shelf is just something that people say as well, right? Top Shelf is like high quality.
Yeah,
this is a high quality League of Legends team, a high quality League of Legends match that we're watching right now.
Like, I don't know, cooking up Top Shelf drafts? Like,
Okay.
no,
Top,
maybe.
Top Shelf
look,
drafts.
There's working potential there.
We're going to workshop it during the break.
We'll workshop on it. And also Twitch chat, please join us as well in workshopping that. So all the meanwhile, here we go. Rabadon trying to use this Shadow Surge to get back in here, trying to catch at least one member out. It's Halal Horse is a little bit further ahead, but you see on the back end, there's Blue, able to pump out a lot of damage, and Shun is there as well, going godlike on this Vigar right now. Egg Rolls is caught in the middle of a few of the members of Ohio State. It's going to go down immediately as well. Gizzard is the next one to fall, and a Doof might be as well, trying to use the Feather Storm in order to get away, and now also burning the Flash, but it's a 3-for-0 in the top lane. Ohio State is going to look now once again towards developing more of a presence around this Baron.
And, I mean, that's exactly the problem of last fight, right? The reason that Top Shelf Hound and Angle found a winning fight is because Halal Horse wasn't there. He's got the Death Stance, the recently updated Death Stance, to completely negate most of the bursts coming out of the Vex. Sustained back up, uses ultimate, so he's no longer taking damage from the ranged characters, and he just stalls for time. And now that he took resources away from that dive, OSU Blue just has a complete heyday. The Vigar Cage and the Thresh CC coming out just ruins the engage coming out of Top Shelf, and they get a clean 3-for-0, a turret, and Baron Nashor.
Yeah, absolutely, and so we'll have to see if they can continue to keep this up. But all the meanwhile, there are paths back into the game to some extent for Top Shelf. And that's exactly what this objective bounty thing that you're seeing now at the top side of the screen is. A few new numbers, a few new things up there, but there could be potential additional gold to be gained by Top Shelf if they are to find ways to come back to this game. But as we keep talking about, that is going to be incredibly difficult. You're looking at a 7-0 Vigara, a 7-1 Aphelios, and you're a 4-1 Xin Zhao here as well. The game plan has fully come into fruition here for Ohio State, and the question will be, can they continue to execute? Because game isn't quite over yet. Still got to pick up this Cloud Drake, able to find that soul. Might still need to pick up another Baron here as well before the game ends. And so we'll have to see if they can continue to capitalize here, especially making sure that they don't get caught out by Egg Rolls, who's trying to come back in this game, and now Shun stuck alone, trying to find a flash, trying to find creative ways to just stay alive, trying to buy a little bit more time.
And he's doing a great job.
Is doing a pretty good job here overall, and now might be just out of range, trying to find one, at least finds the trade. But it's going to be another 700 gold into the pocket of Renan Baby. All the meanwhile, all of that time has been bought to watch this Ohio State squad continue to push into the base on the bottom side of the map. You see these three members laying siege, and that's going to be another inhibitor falling here as well. Shadow Surge is going to come out, but it doesn't look like it's going to get followed up on. No, never mind. There it comes, and the Exhaust comes in here as well, trying to find a little bit more damage, and Rabadon's going to be able to pick up one onto Blue once again. Perhaps Top Shelf still has some hope here as they continue to pick these members off from Ohio State.
Yeah, and I was going to mention Egg Rolls doing a great job sort of splitting up the fight. That's the angle that Top Shelf wants. They don't want a 5v5. They don't want Aphelios to have all these tools to peel him. They want to get people to the side lane, even against the Baron Nashor choosing to go for it. Egg Rolls looking for a bit of a flank angle on the top side, but this is going to be 4v5. There's no Aphelios up for another 15 seconds.
Got to be a little bit careful. And Blue also has to walk back into this fight, so that's not going to be at the meanwhile. But Hunt for Value is going to be able to pick up that one as well as the cast comes out here. And those are the members we haven't been talking about for the Ohio State squad. But all the meanwhile, Top Shelf has continued to try to come on board. They're trying to continue to assert their advantage. And looks like with some of these carries down and out of this fight, Top Shelf might have found a little bit of an advantage here. Rabadon going to be half the force to try to stand away. Mukub and Hull Horse still trying to get a little bit more done, but they're not going to have the damage to finish this one off at this stage of the game. And it looks like Top Shelf might actually come away with this one. They're going to be able to take this Cloud Drake and prevent the soul for another 5 minutes. Blue's coming in, might be trying to clean things up here a little bit more, and actually has dissuaded Top Shelf from taking this Drake single-handedly for the most part. There it is
Big
once
burst.
again. Big burst tries to come out here. OSU Blue going to be able to find this Moonlight Vigil, able to find a second one here with the help of Mookub as well. Holy cow, what a sloppy fight, but what an entertaining one.
And Mookup's teleporting to the base, maybe to just escort the mini wave, maybe think he could find an in angle, but the respawns are coming back up. OSU Blue's going to be able to solo this dragon out here. We saw the burst coming out from the Vex. The 2-item spike is very effective against this Aphelios. He doesn't have his Thresh. He doesn't have these peel tools available that he does in the other fights. But what he does have is a red gun and a Moonlight Vigil, right? He heals for probably 400 hit points. So the burst, one missed spell from the Vex means that character lives and he destroys you afterwards. So able to find an angle there, able to sort of clean up a fight without the Aphelios by having the Aphelios come in late. So Ohio State still in pretty commanding position, are able to pick up that Cloud Soul and are looking to push out this top wave. Nowhere else to be, really. Baron Nash are not spawning for another 2 minutes, so may as well come take a 5v5. Sort of force top shelf into another bad position, but
that's the thing. I mean, we're still looking at Ohio State extending their gold lead, as now it's up to about 8,000. All the meanwhile, trying to hop onto Gizzard here. Still that Leona relatively tanky, but not quite tanky enough at this stage in the game compared to the members and compared to the amount of damage we're seeing come out of the Ohio State squad. Well, meanwhile, Hull Host going golding, trying to make sure that none of the members of Top Shelf can come back in here as they look to try to move on forward. Ramadan is going to overextend just slightly and get taken down here as well. Well, meanwhile, Mooncub 1v1 versus Renan Baby towards this mid lane is going to be able to clean this one up, perhaps not expecting that angle on the flank in. Now, 3 members down from Top Shelf, and Ohio State is looking to march towards the Nexus.
Yeah, and Mookub has hit these item spikes, he's picked up assists, and he's got his own bounty to hold in his hands, and he's can really just go wherever he wants. He doesn't really care at this point. There's no way that he can be taken down by this lethality Xayah and this Gwyn, and Ohio State can just march in.
Marching in, the minions are laying siege to the Nexus, and it will fall. Kaboom! And Ohio State is going to take care of business in this game 1. So they're going to go ahead and, hey, one of the things we were talking about for the entirety of that, right, in terms of the draft, in terms of the potential damage that we were seeing, the Aphelios, especially from this Vigar as well, the game plan all seemed to work there for Ohio State.
Yeah, they got the early kills that sort of neutralize the threat of the lethality Xayah, the Hecarim, the Leona, the Vex dive in the early game. And even with Grasp, Thresh was able to keep his Aphelios alive and keep his teammates pumping out damage in those team fights. So hard for them to find an angle to do anything once they get down those kills, but they found a few fights that were pretty impressive, honestly, with the gold deficit they had, with the composition deficit they were at that point in the game. Top Shelf has some fight in them. They've got some stuff going on.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if they can adapt for this game 2. We're in a best of 3 series, folks, and that game 2 is going to be coming shortly. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a little bit with that draft. Stay tuned. Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to the Victoris Triumph Series, Week 5 on the Ohio State channel. I was about to say a different series of letters there that I realized while I was about to say them
That's right
that
here,
I didn't need to.
There's like a script on the wall. You can just read it.
Yeah, well, I didn't think
Welcome
about that.
back to the Ohio State Esports broadcast. We've got some League of Legends actions for you. Ohio State up 1-0 in the series. Very exciting. Very good game last game.
It was a good game.
They had the hyper carry, they had hyper scaling, and they had so much peel, and they made it happen, right? They got early game kills. Halal Horse doing a lot of work on that Xin Zhao, getting a lot of pressure across the entire map, really, making plays in every single lane. And they used that early game pressure to just snowball the entire map. All of their scaling picks were scaled by 18 minutes.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the things that we were talking a lot about, right, in terms of where is this gold going, right? Because it's one thing to be ahead by a certain amount of gold, and that's really convenient when you're looking at where that is, but then it's also another thing to look at where that gold is actually going to fall. And when it's falling on things like your Aphelios, when it's falling on things like your Vigar in the mid lane as well, it's going to mean a lot more than when it's falling. Those first few early kills are falling towards a Leona on the other side, when they're falling towards the Hecarim's all well and good, but it's more of a mid-game champion and tends to fall off, is not going to be able to respond and adapt to a lot of that damage that we were seeing come out of the Aphelios and Vagar on the other side. So it'll be interesting to watch what Can I say it? I'm going to say it. It'll
Say
be
it.
interesting to watch what Top
Yeah.
Chef has cooked up
Okay.
for us in this draft. Ah! Got him!
Yeah.
Got
You
him!
said it. You said the thing.
I said it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it definitely will be interesting, right? Because we saw those resources get put into the top lane, but it was difficult to get that sort of spread across the map. We couldn't break this Gwyn free, let her split push as you wanted, because Ohio State did a great job of forcing 5v5s, forcing these objective fights. So we got to see if they're going to be able to do that with our next draft. We're going to be hopping into it pretty soon.
Yeah. Hopefully pretty soon.
Yep.
Of course, just as per normal, this has been pro-drafted, and as a reminder, Ohio State will be losing their first ban due to a few of the different rules that are happening here. So that'll probably get timed out here as we start. We'll have a little bit of extra time before we actually see how this one rolls out forward. But beyond that, we'll probably start to see these champions get locked in pretty quickly, so I'm excited to see what we're going to see in champion order.
Yeah, and another thing for us to mention is we had some roles switched again between these games. The Hunt for Value going back from that support position to the mid lane. Still a new mid laner. We touched on him being a newer support last game, sort of filling the position there. But going back to mid lane, which is his posted position, where he's supposed to be. So Flux is back here now, the standard support. I would say much more aggressive than TH4 would play, but he picked Thresh, so
He
like
picked Thresh, and
he was going
pretty
in
aggressive.
anyway. But Flux a little more confident on the flex,
Sure.
I'd say. Definitely would take Glacial Augment or Aftershock on that pick, and probably going to make a lot of work. We see the Hecarim ban coming out, sort of. They most likely, if I had to guess, first picked that last game to take it away from Ohio State University. And this game, as Red Side, don't want to give it to him. So big priority on that Hecarim pick, and a Mordekaiser coming out. Mookub going to pick something a little more brawly. Just said, I'm done playing League Side. I don't want to wave clear. I don't want to be a tank.
I'm tired
I want
of
to
that.
go beat this guy up. I want to get a gold advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that has me taken aback right now, Trundle
Yeah.
in the top lane here as well. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Trundle top lane has gained a lot of popularity recently with the Lethal Tempo build, actually. The champion is very funny to look at as he swings a club at you at maximum velocity and from much further than it looks like. His Q, the Chomp, actually extending his attack range normally. Lethal Tempo adds to that, so he actually can hit you from what looks like a mile away. You get pillared and then chomped at maximum range through turrets and stuff. It's pretty ridiculous to look at, so definitely a bully. So it'll be interesting to see both of these sort of less standard, less beefy picks in the top lane just sort of wailing on each other the entire time is what I predicted to happen. And
Well,
speaking of
speaking
more
of-
aggressive picks, we get an Ari recently reworked and the Akali pick coming out. So we'll have to see if the Akali is going to go Chem Tank, so the more durable build, but it has been nerfed a few times.
All right.
Yeah.
So, sorry to interrupt you here. Tell me
Carry
a
on.
little bit. You mentioned as well, RA reworks. What's going on there?
Yeah, so her passive got changed pretty dramatically. Instead of just casting abilities and getting weird healing just sort of randomly, is what it felt like. Because, like, so it's supposed to be every ability can give you 3 stacks for your passive, and then at 9 stacks your passive, your heal. But sometimes your W only gives you 2 stacks, and it was strange.
Welcome
it didn't really
to League
work
of
like-
Legends.
It worked weird. It was old. The chip's pretty old, right? So they updated it, right? The healing now comes from last hitting CS, which makes her a lot more skill expressive, right? People, higher ranked players, hit the minions more.
Right.
And that gives her a lot more sustain in lane, which makes her a much more powerful trader in the early game. So definitely a stronger than she used to be. Another new champion in the meta, Zeri, recently released. It'll be very interesting to see what she sort of decides to do this game, because on release, this champion was gross. This champion did tons of damage as a tank. She would build Triforce, she would build
Oh, no.
Titanic Hydra, just ridiculous things, and just gun your team down from basically out of any real character's attack range. I've seen recently the popularity of that sort of tank build has gone down pretty dramatically, and people are going back towards the crit builds, the Immortal Shield Bow and Runans. But Zillion,
Yeah.
basically the greediest champion in the game.
Greediest.
Yeah, I mean, the champion doesn't really get to play the early game, has a rough time a lot of the time, especially into a Nautilus. It's going to get bullied
yeah.
a lot. But if you hit that if you get to 11 minutes, if you get to level 11, then you just have an extra member of your team.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's always useful.
Yeah,
Right? Having a 6th member, having that resurrection.
Having
be
a
able to come
second
in.
Viego, who is a second copy
Second
of whatever
everybody.
champion on the enemy team, and a second Zeri, who, with that crit build sort of rising in popularity, is it giant hyper carry, just pumps out insane damage. It's going to be very effective. So
Yeah,
if they
absolutely.
are, the roles have sort of reversed here. We still have the jinx for the late game scaling for Ohio State, but for the most part, they want to put the pressure on early and make sure that this Zillion and this Zeri don't get to late game to sort of carry themselves. So it'll be interesting to see if Ohio State's able to put on the pressure, unlike Top Shelf was able to sort of do the last game.
Yeah, and that's one of the things as well. Hopefully, Halal Horse on this Jarvan starts to be a little bit more of that aggressive, starting to come in a little bit early, that level 2, right?
Right.
Especially trying to see what exactly can happen there. But for the moment, folks, I believe we're going to be sending it to a little bit of a break. We'll be hopping onto the Rift in just a few more minutes as we wait for this game to get started. So don't go anywhere. Of course, Game 2 will be back in a bit. Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to the Ohio State Esports broadcast. We are about to load into Game 2 of Ohio State versus Top Shelf for VTS Week 5. My name is Kenneth, joined by Mason. Mason's been guiding me a little bit through a lot of this League of Legends stuff. For those of you that might be newer to the game, hopefully this will be a good one for you to kind of get a little bit of a better understanding of what's going on, because, boy, has this game changed. It changes every year, but
Yeah.
it's frustrating how much this game changes. Like,
It's exciting how much it changes. We get to do
Exciting.
new,
Well,
exciting, different things every time we log into the
Well,
game.
you
Every time we cast, we get to say, what do these abilities do? What did they rework
That's what I was doing.
What's
I was
going
looking up
on?
Zeri abilities over the
know,
break
it
because I
happens.
haven't actually, been able to cast a game with Zeri in it. This will be my first cast.
I haven't casted a Zeri game either. It'll be very exciting. This champion pumps out damage if she gets the opportunity to, and she's a little trickier with the way she does it than Aphelios, I'd say.
Right.
Aphelios sort of stands there and just blast away. Zeri has to land skill shots. She has to sort of aim, and she has dashes to reposition, can even glide through walls. So she has the tools to sort of take a strange skirmish fight where Aphelios doesn't really get to do that. So that's a more
Yeah.
exciting late-game hyper carry than an Aphelios would be, at least in my opinion.
Right.
So it'll be cool to see if that character can get off the ground. It'll be fun to see which sort of build she decides to pursue, but I think we're ready to hop right into this game so we can see the Rift right about now.
Yeah, should be definitely a good one here as we start to see this draft of Ohio State on the blue side this time around and Top Shelf on the red side. Ohio State grouping up once again
Going for these level 1 plays.
for level 1. Egg Rolls going to spot him out. We'll have to see what exactly ends up happening here. We'll probably see a lot of a similar play to what we were seeing from the last game. Perhaps there's some vision exchanged here, as well as Ohio State's just going to continue coming on forward. I guess they're expecting that the hook is going to come in here for the
Yeah,
Nautilus
so
here.
last game having the Thresh, they have the Nautilus this game. They're going for the sort of aggressive level 1 play. It's a little greedier, right? You want to get that first blood, a little extra gold, knock somebody off of their footing, right? Expecting them to be a little unprepared, but if you go for a standard 5-point, if you check the boxes, if you do all your work, right, you don't get punished by this kind of play. So good to see Top Shelf sort of thwart that attempt again. But it'll be interesting to see what's going on. We see pretty aggressive summoner spells coming out from the bottom lane. We see the Ignite coming onto the Zillion, which I didn't expect. Not a ton of healing on the enemy team, and not a ton of early game pressure coming out from the Zillion. Maybe with the double ranged into a melee character, if they're able to dodge that Nautilus hook, they might be able to get some harass down, might be able to make some plays happen.
Yeah, absolutely. As we start to see these Junkers come in. Worth noting here, Top Shelf had that vision because of the early game play from Ohio State, and actually knows now that they didn't start on that bottom side of the map. And so Halal Horse starting here on that blue buff on the top side of the map here. Egg Rolls, though, going in. Flash solo kill. That was a level 1 solo kill here for this Trundle.
And that's what I was talking about in the champ select, right? This lethal tempo, it surprises people. He gets level 2 off of that minion, starts pushing in aggressively with the frozen terrain, giving him the extra attack speed, the extra movement speed, and he just whacks you over and over and over again, getting max attack speed, getting max range, and it's hard to do anything as Mordekaiser into that. So didn't respect it on the level 1, but see if he's going to be able to bring this back. Has a pretty big health advantage.
Yeah.
But Trundle with the passive in the top lane, as the minions die, he's going to be healing up.
Absolutely. And now, like again, Muka now no teleport, no flash. A second kill could be catastrophic here. So we'll have to see if Renata Baby on this Viego starts to head over that direction. try to cause a little bit of a balance, try to get egg rolls even further ahead here. But really has to be careful if you are Mukub. Unfortunately, it's not going to be as fun. Very reminiscent of last game as well. Up on the top side of the map for the Ohio State top laner. But nonetheless, we'll see where else Ohio State can get the advantage. Because, even though they have, a lot of this, they have a little bit of a mix-up in terms of who's playing what, I imagine that there's probably going to be a very similar game style. They're looking to try to get blue ahead. They're trying to get this Jinx online as early as possible. Start pumping out a lot of damage, and that Ahri as well. There for the sustain, there for a little bit more damage.
And one of the things that enables Eggrols to go for that play, aside from just sort of being able to be that aggressive with the Trundle pick, with the lethal tempo, is the vision control in the enemy jungle, which has sort of been turned around for Ohio State. A good hook coming out.
Dredge line going to be able to land. Gizzard going to have to flash over the wall. Flash forward here, come out. And Fluxatine's going to be able to pick up one. That was Blue trying to find that kill, but it's not going to be able to find it just there. So it's 1 kill apiece early in this game for both sides of the map. But unfortunately, we're talking a little bit about where this gold started to get distributed. Unfortunately, that kill gold going over to Fluxatine on this Nautilus might be a little bit useful. Try to get a little bit early, but certainly not optimal, not enough to start building that snowball up.
Right. And like I was trying to say is the early vision sort of allows the Trundle to be more aggressive because they know that the Jarvan is going to be on that bottom side. Well, they knew the Jarvan was going to be on the bottom side, but they didn't realize that he was going to be in their jungle, making a play, smiting the Gromp away at the start of that play, and then getting bot lane since their Ohio State's bottom lane had the wave push. They were able to just walk up and take the blue buff as well, and then take a fight afterwards. So that was big gains for Halal Horse. He gets a lot of value out of that, and Eggrols is able to hold a freeze here. It's really difficult for Mukub to get anything done.
Absolutely, and now has to be a little bit careful, especially with the crowd control of this Trundle. That pillar goes up, tries to slam the staff down, but it's not going to be enough as Renona Baby is going to come up here as well. Top shelf, top lane is going to be able to take care of business here, trying to get ahead, trying to find where those advantages are.
Yeah, and it looks like Top Chef is cooking up some egg rolls in this top lane. He's getting stacked up, he's getting strong, and this freeze is still not broken. Teleport not available, Flash not available. Mordekaiser is going to be having a bad time. But at least for Ohio State, they have a giant XP advantage and CS advantage in the jungle. Taking those 2 camps away from the Viego's first clear, very important. And even though he's getting some stuff done in the top lane, he's still pretty critically far behind, even with the gold from the kill, because the XP is not there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, it'll be interesting to see where all of this starts to play in. The interesting thing about League of Legends is we're starting to lay the foundations for what will come in the future. So obviously we're emphasizing egg rolls right now, able to pick up 2 early kills, or on the top side of the map, I guess Renata Baby picked up that one as well. But, starting to see these things come together here as well. Perhaps we'll start to see Halal Horse on the Ohio State side play a little bit more, aggressively, give it a little bit more of an advantage, especially when we hit level 6, can pull up that Coliseum and start taking care of damage, starting to go for some of these plays as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's able to get this dragon super early. You see on the minimap, there's no dots except for his Krugs available, so he's clearing efficiently. He's invading again as the camps respawn, and he's starting a dragon stack early, but in the top lane, it looks like Egg Rolls is trying to get a little more done, but the pillar is not good enough to kill Mukub, so deflates that play a little bit, but this Jarvan is going to be annoying. This champion, if he gets early game gold, turns into an assassin and a bruiser. He's just running through the enemy blue side jungle like a maniac. And Rondon Baby is trying to trade in the enemy jungle, right? He's trying to take these camps away, but he's getting collapsed on by Ohio State. He's only level 4 and he gets ulted by the Mordekaiser. This Viego is not bulky enough.
That's the Death Realm. Viego cannot quite contend against this. Trying to smite away some health from this blue buff, but it's not going to be enough. And Don for value going to pick up that kill as well, starting to get this Ahri online now at level 6. But we start to see, what was that? That was about half the health bar in an instant as Rabadon's able to pick up one.
Yeah, I mean, Halal Horse feels really strong, right? He's been running through the enemy jungle super far behind, but this Akali isn't far behind. She's still an assassin, but she's looking to get assassinated in the mid lane.
Oh, flash over the wall, hunt for value, trying to follow here as well. Can't quite seem to hit that, but is going to be able to pick up just enough damage with that Ignite. So that'll be another one falls even on the kill line for both these squads.
The Egg Roll's still just looking to do some more bullying. No armor coming out from Mukub yet. Hasn't had the gold to even buy it. He's just having a bad day. But Halal Horse is in the area trying to get something done, right? Try to help his top laner get back into the game. Trundle's pretty low here,
carefully.
so it's playable.
Death's Grasp comes back in. There's the Cataclysm that goes up. Egg Roll's going to be forced to flash over it. Flash follow from Halal Horse. This Jarvan's going to pick up a kill there as well. Now 1-1-1. So we'll have to see where the next play is, especially when this Cataclysm comes back online.
And that's a really, really important bailout in the top lane. The CS almost neutralized here. May be able to snag a plate. The teleport's still not available for Egg Rolls. Mukub's just got saved, essentially. He was going to be down probably 30 CS. He was going to be down turret platings as waves started crashing in. It was looking dire, but they've saved him. So
absolutely,
he's going to be able to probably pick up, I would assume, some armor on this recall, so he can be a little more aggressive, get the CS, not get frozen on again. So it should be very beneficial.
And that's the other thing, too. If you look at the other perspective, it's also stopped that momentum building up and continue to apply pressure here for Egg Rolls on the favor of top shelves. And so, you know, that's the other thing, is that everything you see here always has two meanings for both of these squads. Very rarely is there ever just one interaction that causes one consequence, right? There's always going to be trade-off between these two, and so we'll have to see what continues to come of the rest of this. Ohio State up about 1,000 gold right now, but we'll have to see if they can hold on to this, have to see if they can start translating, especially when we start getting into these team fights with the next Drake coming back up in another 2 minutes.
Yeah, and the team fights are going to be really interesting because the more standard sort of hyper carry, AD carry, but a fight coming out of the top lane, Mukub having the items, thinking he can brawl a little bit here.
Death Realm, Death's Grasp coming out here, and Mukub's going to be able to slam that staff, getting the solo kill revenge onto Egg Rolls, and all of a sudden, Egg Roll's not feeling too confident up there in that solo matchup, but of course, admittedly, largely reliant on that ultimate here as well. Getting sent to that Death Realm, and Mukub's going to be able to pick that one up.
Yeah, that was the big difference there, right? Both of these champions sort of stealing stats from one another with their ultimates. The Trundle ultimate, Subjugate, not available there, but the Death Realm is, right? So able to sort of push this advantage, and the advantage Egg Rolls has, now he has his ultimate, Mukub doesn't have his. They're just going to keep fighting.
They're going to keep fighting. What's going on up here in the top lane? Mukub is going to fall that time around. It's solo kill for solo kill up there.
Yeah,
as we continue going on forward.
Egg Roll sort of dropping his early game advantage, but you know, 5-second rule picks it back up for Top Chef.
5-second rule, teleports back into the lane, takes care of business. Now, Mukub probably also going to teleport back into the lane. Now, neither one is going to have their ultimate online. But on the meanwhile, bot side, there's a little bit of fight breaking out here as Renard Baby has made an appearance. Now, Dredgeline comes out again. The Root's going to fall here onto a Doofoof, trying to take care of business. Gizzard, though, is going to be the one knocked up by the Death Charge. Fortunately, not quite able to find any kill here on the response for Ohio State. It looks like both these teams are going to retreat for now. But I say that. Shelly going to get sent down here on the mid lane. Rabadon trying to take care of business, trying to be that assassin, dash around. There's the Cataclysm, though, but it's going to be able to find one. It's 1-for-1, and very well played by Rabadon. I am impressed by this Akali play.
Yeah, I mean, that's just confident assassin work getting done there. The charge coming in, though, Ohio State is going to get a decent chunk of gold from that Herald play. Do trade the kill, but pretty impressive the Akali can get something from that. Does not look like she's going to be building the tank items here. Chemtech being nerfed a little bit, being more defensive. This is a confident assassin player. She is going in, she is building damage, a proto belt most likely coming out from that alternator. And something that I realized watching that bot lane fight, fresh as the Viego ult comes to save, really hard to pin down that champion, that ultimate giving him a little bit of invulnerability, right? What I noticed in that bot lane fight is Zeri Zillion looks very fun to play. Like, getting the extra ultimate, or the extra movement speed from the Zeri ultimate, as well as the Zillion speed up, and being able to just run in like an idiot because you're just going to get rezzed afterwards, you could just play that champion super aggressively. I might want to try that out. That looks fun.
So certainly the idea is there, right, for Top Shelf, and they're trying to get themselves a little bit more of an advantage here, especially as we mentioned, you know, in the draft, this Zillion going to especially be online once they hit level 11, that second buff on that ultimate. Now, back to the Death Realm we go on the top side of the map as these
Both of them have ults.
top laners are just going at it. Flash away, but it's not going to be enough. And Egg Rolls, it's going to pick up that one as these top laners just keep duking it out. On the meanwhile, mid lane, a little bit of a damage trade here. We'll have to see if there's much that comes of it. Ho-ho!
Jinx ulti. Too much healing coming out of the Trundle, so that's not going to be able to get any work done. But yeah, this is exactly what we wanted. We saw Draft, we saw the Mordekaiser, we saw the Trundle. We wanted these guys to run at each other, and they are doing that for us, right? A little bit disadvantaged there for Mukub. He had the Tab Eyes completed, but didn't have the Bramble Vest at the time. And a full Blade of the Ruin King is so much sustain, but he might be able to get something done here. The slow coming out from the Chomp might be able to kite backwards. But yeah, that full Blade of the Ruin King is so much damage, so much attack speed, and so much healing, which just synergizes with Trundle's kit so well. When you don't have that Bramble Vest up early, it's a problem. There's not really a champion in the game that could fight him in that spot. So,
yeah, absolutely. Now, starting to see even more damage as Hunt for Value going to burn all of the cooldowns here, but Rabadon going to try to come right back as well. There's Akali, something of a menace here as well. Good dredge line, though, comes on in here. That's going to be the ultimate force out of Gizzard. And on the meanwhile, Dufuf going to try to continue charging on forward. Mid lane trading still continues. Rabadon's going to dash forward, able to pick that one up. Now, Fluxatine is the next target, but a Dufuf going to be forced to flash away. This blue is starting to come on. Super Mega Death Rocket not going to connect this time around. Now, Ron Baby trying to flash on forward, trying to get just a little bit more done, but cannot quite seem to find it. There it is. Heartbreaker, and Fluxatine will fall. Might be trying to keep on going. Now taking the form of this Nautilus, but it's not going to be enough. Well, meanwhile, starting to see if Halal Horse is trying to get a little bit of something done here. Starting to approach, but I don't think it's going to be there in quite some time. And Top Shelf finding a lot of advantages across the map.
They are using the tools that they have, and they are making plays with it. But really, I think the biggest issue for Ohio State here is that Halal Horse, I haven't seen him in a little bit, right? He hasn't been able to make plays. He still has maintained a giant CS advantage, up almost 50 at this point, which is absolutely massive. But the Jarvan isn't exactly the place we want this gold. He has almost 6,000. Looks like it's the most in the game. Oh, just a little bit behind the Trundle, but that doesn't really do much for Jarvan. He could hit 2 items, be very tanky, get a little lifesteal, but it doesn't accelerate nearly as much as the gold does on the Jinx, or the gold does on the Zeri, or the Viego even scales significantly better, right? So if Top Shelf is up right now, and they a little bit behind in gold, but up in kills, if they are able to push that advantage, or even just continue to sort of neutralize Ohio State's aggression and neutralize this Jarvan, they are going to be in a very good spot as this Zeri continues to scale. And it does look like she has decided to go for that Trinity Force, most likely going to be into the Ruinaz or the Titanic Hydra second. So not going for that shield bow crit build. But still, it's going to put out massive damage, especially with the ability to be careless with the Zillion behind you, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, one of the things we were talking about in draft as well, right? Ohio State's going to have to be the one to find the advantages early. And right now, as of yet, they haven't been able to do that. And they are pretty quickly at this point running out of time. Still going to be a little bit more. We start to see some of these objective timers continue to come on up. Drake coming up in another 2 minutes here. Can you guys stop?
They're going at it again.
They're just going at it again. Here we are in the Death Realm. Once again, Egg Rolls coming back underneath the turret. Doing better, but it's not going to be enough this time around. Well, meanwhile, there's a fight happening on the bot side, too. It's going to be Halal Horse able to pick up one. Can you all just, coordinate this so that there's one thing happening at a time, please? I would like some consistency, but nonetheless, more action's going to happen on the map. 1 kill for 1 kill.
Yeah, I mean, even trade across the map. Nothing happened. Don't even have to think about it.
Don't even have to think about it.
Something important to note for Ohio State, as we've sort of assaulted them for not pushing this early game advantage hard enough, they've got 2 dragons stacked, right? Jarvan has been doing things.
That is true.
Less kills on the map, and does make that play bottom lane, but he is stacking this dragon up almost as fast as you could do it. Play in the mid lane.
Rabadon got to be careful, but so does Hunt for Value with that Viego coming up. The Heartbreaker is going to follow through, and so it's going to be a 1-for-1 in the mid lane as well.
Doesn't matter. 1-for-1s don't count.
1-for-1.
1-for-1s don't count.
Actually, okay.
Yeah.
That's not entirely true, especially when we get to play the game where there's bounties coming in, right? And so we do have to talk about those. But
yeah. I mean, we can just look the other way whenever 1-for-1s happen. Doesn't really count. But yeah, like I was saying, is these dragons are stacking up quickly, right? That is a win condition. It is very difficult to beat a team with Ocean Soul. So if Ohio State, they're knocking these turrets down, getting a little extra gold in their pockets, still only up about 1,000, because this Trundle's putting so much work into the top side. But if they're able to stack up the Soul, keep the pressure in the bottom side, like we were saying in the first game, the bot side focused team with Moo sort of filling in that weak side position. This Dragon looks hard to contest, but it looks like they might go for it. They're stacking the bush. They don't want to go yet. They're sort of waiting for the Hunt for Value to make their way in. Bushes are being checked by Zeri.
Trying to take this. Well, you start to see Top Shelf continue to come on forward. But yeah, to your point, it's also about what you don't see. And we haven't seen these Dragons be taken until this point, and it's going to be Renan, baby, stepping just a bit too far forward. It's going to get lit up by these members of Ohio State. They're going to be able to take their third Drake on the map. And all of a sudden,
but
on Soul Point.
Another thing we're not looking at is the Hull Breaker completed for this Trundle. This guy is sprinting down top lane. He's knocked down 2 turrets already. He popped a Herald during this objective, and he looks to be wailing on the inhibitor, but we're taking a nice look at mid lane. As Mukub falls down, he's going to have to run away. Halal Horse too strong for this. It looks like the Ahri is going to look for a flank to sort of pinch in, get the shutdown, the bounty, 500 gold off of this Trundle. Gold Ultimate comes out, gets the flash. He's speedy. Jinx ult whiffing. Will Hunt for Value get the angle? The ultimate is available for the Ahri, so I don't think that he'll be able to get away. The camera not helping us.
Hitler coming up. Hunt for Value trying to
heals a lot if he fights.
Going to be able to find some of these kills. Going to be able to find the crown control, and Hunt for Value is going to pick up 4th kill of the game here. Starting to come online on this Ahri, but all the meanwhile, you see the top shelf members playing together. That's the mid lane turret going down here as well. And all of a sudden, this map on the top side jungle is so vulnerable right now on the Ohio State side.
Well, fortunately enough, they can sort of play towards this top side until that last dragon spawns. So they have the next 4 minutes or so to sort of play the top side, manage the Trundle as best they can. I expect to see Egg Rolls head down to the bottom lane to try to push for these more towers. This Hull Breaker just makes this guy unstoppable. And we were sort of focused on the Zeri, the Zillion, the Viego for the late game team fights, the extra scaling for top shelf, but a play going to the top side, the Viego has scaled, it seems. The shutdown that the bounty just popped up on the Ahri, getting claimed immediately. Turret's still falling.
Turret's still falling.
Wants something here, it seems.
Looking for this as well, but it's going to be difficult with this Viego's movement abilities. And so, going to be able to get taken back out. Although, meanwhile, Top Shelf starting to invade the Ohio State jungle. We talked about how vulnerable all of a sudden this map was for Ohio State with how many towers just fell. And it's the things that you don't see in League of Legends that also make just the same impact. Blue trying to shove these members away, but a camp still going to get stolen back as these teams are continuing to try to fight for strategic advantages heading into this next trade.
And just like we were saying with the 1-for-1 kills, it wasn't just top shelf picking up the turrets. The turrets are being traded back on all the different sides of the map. The Dragons picked up. The goal's even still. Somehow, this game, which feels like a slam in both directions, is still dead even. So a fight starting to Valkyrie. Egg Rolls, the ult's coming
here
out.
We go again. Mukub into the Death Realm, trying to get just a little bit more damage onto Egg Rolls, trying to buy more time and make sure that this Trundle could go nowhere. Because the second you arrive back from the Death Realm, there are 3 Buckeye players just sitting right there for you. And so that kill will fall. Egg Rolls bounty is going to be handed over. And so now Ohio State continuing jockey for position, 2 more minutes before this Soul Drake.
Yeah, and that Soul is going to be really important. I expect the Trundle to probably head back towards the top side now. Akali's sort of filling that role for now. Teleport is available, so he'll be able to match that fight if he wants to, but he's got a Hull Breaker. I don't know how much experience you have with the item.
I do not.
When you ping it, it says, I'm hunting alone, all right? He doesn't want to be near his teammates. He wants to take 1v1s, 1v2s even he probably can handle.
Explain to me what Hull Breaker does.
Hull Breaker is a dumb item. Let's just start with that. It has some AD, some lethality, a little bit of durability built in, but if you are not near any friendly champions, if they are, I forget the exact range, but if they're far away from you, you get extra armor, extra magic resist, and your cannon minions are basically Baron buffed.
Great.
It gives you extra damage to turrets. It is overstated and ridiculous. It needs to be nerfed. But it will cause absolute problems if this Trundle is left in the side. Absolutely. He took 2 turrets in an instant just because they wanted to secure a dragon. So if he's left alone, the Nexus is dead. So that is a constant pressure that Ohio State is going to have to deal with. But when he's in the bot side and they're playing for this bot side objective, the dragon, they have the members to deal with him.
Right.
So I would definitely like to see him rotate towards that top side before this thing spawns so we can draw a member towards him. We see Zeri going a little aggressive.
A little aggressive here. Blue going to be able to find a little bit more damage here as well. It's not quite going to be enough time to reset as this Drake comes up. And so
Yeah,
Anything that happens now is going to have significant ramifications of this fight. Ohio State really wants to pick up this Ocean Soul Drake right here. That is going to be a massive buff for them if they can secure it.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost just a guaranteed win. I think Ocean Soul, somewhere around 80% win rate for teams that are able to secure it. It looks like Top Shelf are positioning towards the Baron side of Hook
flash
coming
forward.
out.
Dredge line is going to be able to connect. The Jinx is going to try to unload a little bit more damage, but it's not going to be enough. Disengage coming out. Rabadon is going to have to play a little bit more carefully here, and now it's going to try to dash back into the Ohio State squad, but it's going to get blowed up. All the meanwhile, Duke moves going back in with his electric surge, but also not going to happen this time around. Now going to get resurrected, but that is going to be a waste of a Zillion ultimate. It's 2 down already for Top Shelf. As they start going towards this Drake, they're going to try to, you know, shred this one down. But I don't think it's going to be enough. They're just trying to back on away as here comes the Ohio State squad. All the meanwhile,
the important ultimates are down, right? They use the Zillion, they use the Viego ultimates. They can't fight this. This is a guaranteed soul just going over. They are able to pick up the Trundle, can grab 1 tower in the bot lane, but a bot lane outer at 23 minutes for an Ocean Soul?
For an Ocean Soul.
That's just not worth. And it looks like they could even take this pressure up towards the Baron. Trundle stomping his way back down bottom to keep the pressure on, playing opposite of the objective makes a lot of sense. But I don't know if his team can stop a Ocean Soul powered Ohio State.
Looks like Ohio State not going to opt for the Baron this time around. They're just going to go ahead and back on away as you start to see Top Shelf sweep up through here. They're looking for a little bit more vision on this Baron as well because they realize that is the point where they are most vulnerable. But all the meanwhile, you're seeing this Trundle continuing to split push, and it's worth noting, you know, pretty soon here, Ohio State's going to be more vulnerable on towers. Going to have to really be looking for those opportunities to backdoor if you're Top Shelf here and steal this game away.
Yeah, and maybe with the extra power that the Ocean Soul provides, Mukub will be able to hold this. But a Hull Breaker Trundle with a finished Blade of the Ruin King, ultimate available, a lethal tempo, almost level 16. He could probably take 3 members at this point. Like, he is ridiculously powerful even with the Ocean Soul. So Ohio State is going to need to send a lot of resources there to kill him, or they are just going to have to trade the objectives for the Baron, which at this point might be worth it.
By the way, we should probably explain what Ocean Soul does. Ocean Soul heals you. It's really nice. Out of combat, you're going to get a bunch more healing, you're going to level up, and you're not going to have to go to base. You're not going to have to go back to the fountain in order to take care of that. So it is a massive buff in terms of when you're talking about sustaining, continuing to stick around, continuing to be a menace, and continuing to get things done actually on the map to try to counteract whatever this Trundle is doing. And so that's going to be one of the things here that Ohio State's going to really want to try to take advantage of.
Yeah, basically Ohio State has all picked up mobile fountains. They just don't really care about recalling anymore except when they can finish an item.
Yep.
But with a 3-item Trundle, you're going to need more than a fountain to heal you. You're going to need some crowd control, and you're going to need some thoughts and prayers. It's going to take a lot. Hunter Value a little far out here, but maybe a pick coming for Top Shelf. Trundle getting some work on the bot side. I expect to see Ohio State starting this objective very quickly.
I don't know if I like this, though, with how many members of Top Shelf are around in the area. Fluxstein going to be looking for the dredge line, but it's not going to connect this time around. All the meanwhile, Egg Roll starting to come on in here on the bottom side of the map. Holy, what was that damage on the turret? That was like half the turret's health. All the meanwhile, Super Mega Death Rocket is going to be able to blow up a Doofu, and now we're going back to the Death Realm, going golden, buying a little bit more time here. But Egg Rolls is 2 levels ahead of Mukub on the bottom side of the map. It is might even try to just catch this wave and try to continue pushing this forward. Meanwhile, the Ohio State squad looking for this Baron once again. They've got to be careful on the other side of the map. Here comes Renan, baby, coming around, trying to get in the pit, trying to smite this one away. And Rabadon as well, trying to approach from the pit entrance. This Baron back down to 5,000 health. Here comes Rabadon trying to dash on in, trying to take care, trying to assassinate some of these members. But Hunt for Value, going to go golden for a little bit more. We're starting to see the resurrection come out here as well, and it's an absolute bloodbath here. But it's, at the moment, going a little bit to the favor of Ohio State. Rabadon's going to be able to pick up 1 and dash on away. But that is crucially going to mean that Ohio State is not able to pick up this Baron. And as you just mentioned, here's Egg Rolls knocking on the door. This inhibitor is going to fall as well. It's going to be a thorn in the side of Ohio State. They didn't get a lot for any of those plays, and Egg Rolls was able to secure Top Shelf and inhibitor.
Yeah, best case scenario, they get the Baron, they recall quickly, and they lose an inhibitor, certainly. But They can't even manage to do that. Top shelf. Egg Rolls is just spam pinging his team. Cancel recalls. Please slow down the Nash. Anything you can do to buy me 15 more seconds, and I'm going to kill their entire base. They're going to look for a duo here on the Baron. It's going to be really slow, but there's not really any place for them to push. Egg Rolls isn't on the map right now, so this is a pretty safe call. It looks like Top Shelf isn't expecting it either.
Yeah.
And this looks just dead to me. So Baron's going to be able to help stall a lot. We saw the Ocean Soul was not enough for Mookub to stop the pressure in the bottom lane. Maybe Baron buff is. Maybe the extra damage from minions and the extra stats it gives you is going to help him out here. He's completing more items, getting more armor. Eventually wants to try to slow down this Trundle, but it might just be he's suiciding to kill a minion wave. It's getting to that point where once this Trundle finishes a Titanic Hydra, he is going to push a wave instantly. He's going to kill a turret instantly. You saw the Demolish proc with the extra damage from the Hullbreaker. Eradicated that turret while he was being wailed on by the Mookub the entire time. He just stood there, took it, and kept clicking the towers. So, like I was saying, they're going to need 2, 3, 4 members maybe to stop this split push. But for now, Trundle's being put in the top side because coming up soon is this Elder Dragon. They got the soul.
Oh.
Big
Cataclysm comes out here. Is going to be able to pop one of the members and take care of another one on top shelf. Blue going to pick up that kill as Ohio State continues to try to find some advantages. There's a turret destroyed as well. But on the meanwhile, Egg Rolls continuing to split push, looking for this inhibitor again. And that those two inhibitors down is going to be critical here, especially because Elder Drake is coming up. Elder is in 30 seconds. That is going to be critical for either one of these squads to get just that little bit more of an advantage.
It seems like these teams aren't interested in Elder. They want to take a fight now. It's a base race. They're going for the end in mid lane while they pray that they can stall the Trundle on the backside. Rabadon putting a lot of work to slow this down, but Jing's still up. Egg Rolls going for a 2v1, feeling the pressure, thinking his Nexus is going to die here, so he has to make a play.
Ghost Golden still in the Death Realm, still losing health is Egg Rolls. And now that Trundle is not enough to take care of 2 of the members of Ohio State. Egg Rolls will fall. It's 4 down for top shelf. And Ohio State is going to be able to secure a game. What a volatile game. There were so many win conditions for both those teams. It was neck and neck. And just what a game.
I mean, that's crazy macro play. Those decisions in the moment, your heart is pounding.
Gosh.
Baron is up, but there's a Trundle that's been annoying you this entire game. So much pressure in the side lanes. Akali even pushing in the bottom lane, but they're able to get a kill on the Akali. They're able to cancel the recalls on the Trundle, force him into a bad play in the bottom lane, get the pick, and then just push straight down mid with the Baron buff. They don't care about the other. They're just going to end the game.
Yeah, absolutely. What a match, honestly, and what a well-fought match for both sides. I mean, I think these teams were very evenly matched. Of course, Ohio State able to come away with the victories here, but certainly, like I said, win conditions on both sides of the map. You saw that Trundle, you saw Egg Rolls play very well overall, especially getting those early advantages and able to try to capitalize on those, continue to snowball away as now we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the stats here.
Statistics.
Post-games. You see that Trundle has gold. By the way, that Trundle was level 17
yeah, I mean,
30 minutes into the game.
That game's on a knife's edge, right? The Trundle can end the game if there aren't 2 people to stop him underneath the Nexus turrets, right? He was walking under and just killing people. He did not care at all. It was absolutely absurd. So one pick doesn't happen in the mid lane, a little bit more stall coming out for Top Chef, and they win that game, right? It's so close, but Ohio State able to stop the pressure of the Hullbreaker Trundle, stop the lethal tempo, destroying their entire Nexus, and stop Top Shelf from closing the game out.
Not quite able to find the ingredients for that recipe. Was recipe. Oh, God. I'm going to look back at that later. I was so close.
I'm clipping it, and I'm sending it to you.
Folks, that's going to do it for us here tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on the Ohio State Esports broadcast. Unfortunately, most of our broadcast talent is actually out for this weekend, so we won't be broadcasting or won't be able to broadcast live a lot of the matches that our teams will be playing in. But if you're curious to see updates on matches, be sure to follow the Twitter at Ohio ST Esports, and that's where you'll be able to stay up to date on all things about what's going on here on campus for our program. My name has been Kenneth. I've been joined today by Mason. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to seeing you back here in the future. Take care, everyone. Make sure you drop a follow, and we'll see you all next time.